Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken and welcome back to another video. Skye is a very interesting champion. If you were to stick 100 Paladins players in a room and ask them what they think of Skye, you'd get 100 different answers, ranging from her being a weak flank, the strongest flank, a healer, or a weird situational character who's only good in certain matchups. Or at least, that's the situation if you take a look at the poll I published recently where I asked my audience to vote on what they think of Skye. As you can see, it's almost a perfect bell curve, with almost as many people who think that she's an amazing and powerful flank as there are who think that she's a D-tier champion. But by far the most popular answer was that she's average or situational, and we can look to the comments of this poll to see the variety of opinions when it comes to this matter. Taking a scroll through the comments on this poll will reveal a few similar trends when it comes to people's opinions on Skye. Quite a few people, for example, think that she is by far one of the worst flanks in the game. However, when it comes to her healing build, she's an amazing support who can rush around with her off-tank, destroying her opponents. Others say that she's a fantastic flank, until the enemies by Illuminate. Still others are adamant that she's a fantastic flank anywhere you go, while others see no place for her at all in the meta. Some say that she's fantastic on console but garbage on PC, and others say that she's amazing at low ranks but terrible at high ranks. So how strong is this character really? When and where would you ever want to use her? Well, to answer that question, let's start off by taking a look at her kit. Skye has fairly high DPS with her wrist crossbow and poison bolts combination, which does 1300 damage per second, plus 10% of the target's health from poison bolts. Without the poison, her primary fire still has lower DPS than Androxus, and it also has some ridiculous damage fall off at range. This means that to get the most out of her damage, you'll want to be as close to your target as possible, to ensure that you get the most out of your two damaging abilities. And if you hit multiple headshots on an opponent, you can actually burst them down rather quickly. However, getting close to an opponent is trickier than it may seem. You see, Skye is the only flank champion in the game who has no mobility whatsoever. Instead, she has the ability to go invisible using her other two abilities, Smokescreen and Hidden. Combined with some helpful movement speed cards that apply on these two abilities, you might be able to sneak up on some unsuspecting foes in the early rounds of a match. However, her lack of a movement ability becomes a problem once the enemies start to buy Illuminate, which reveals stealth enemies when they're close nearby. This also becomes a problem against any of the champions who can reveal enemies, such as Strix or Vivian. Against these counters, Skye is rather helpless when it comes to sneaking up on a target, and she has no means of quickly retreating or juking an enemy like so many other flanks have. So, by the time late game rolls around, it might be nearly impossible to flank a smart team with Illuminate, and once you enter the enemy team's backline, there's no way to leave it quickly. This creates an interesting dilemma for Skye. Against newer players who don't know how to counter her with Illuminate or anticipate her flank routes through good game sense, she may seem like one of the strongest champions in the game, since her damage output is so high and she can sneak up on them with ease. However, against more experienced players, flanking with her seems like little more than a joke in most cases. They know where she's most likely going to flank from, how to listen to her audio cues, and can easily beat her in 1v1 with other champions who are more mobile and can quickly delete her small 2000 health pool. However, we also have to take into account another factor, the input method used in the match. You see, the meta for controller lobbies varies drastically from the PC meta. While certain characters such as Eevee can wipe the floor with Skye in a PC lobby when it comes to flanking and dominating an enemy team, it is far too cumbersome to try and play Eevee with a controller anywhere close to the standard of good PC Eevees, as I learned for myself in this video here. Controller players also get the benefit of Aim Assist, a tool that makes aiming with joysticks significantly easier than it otherwise would be. This makes it so that fast fire rate hit scan champions who can hit headshots are far better on controller in most cases than other champions like Maeve or Vatu, even though Maeve and Vatu can be equally as viable, if not more viable on PC. So, while champions like Talus and Skye might be average at best on PC, they're meta on console due to their ease of use and high compatibility with Aim Assist. So with that being said, it would seem as though we've pinned down where Skye's strength is at in the meta. She's strong on controller and in low-ranking PC games, but gets worse the higher your rank is in the PC meta. However, it's not quite as simple as that either, thanks to this talent right here, Smoke and Dagger. This talent makes it so that her smokescreen now heals not just herself, but allies too, and any benefits from her smokescreen such as the speed, ammo, and healing cards also apply to teammates. This means that while Skye is, for the most part, absolute rubbish when it comes to flanking in high-rank lobbies, she still has a place in the meta as an off support, someone who can follow around her off-tank and other DPS and support them in getting kills. For example, she could follow around Khan, who is a fantastic off-tank in his own right, and support him with solid healing per second, bonus speed, and a bit of extra ammo, and also shoot the targets that he's going after with her considerable damage per second. Instead of playing her like how you would play Eevee, Androxus, or any of the other well-regarded flanks and Paladins who can dive in, get a kill, and either snowball or retreat, you play her like a supportive DPS who helps her tanks, like a different version of Grok. This way, she can still be sort of viable in high-rank matches, not as a flank, but as a support. Of course, certain team comps still won't be the best for Skye. If you've got a single tank and a bunch of mobile champions who aren't inclined to let you follow them around, she's not going to be very good. But in a situation where you've got a good off-tank to play with, she can form an excellent pair with that tank, and go to town tearing through the enemy team. If Schrodinger were to play a champion in Paladins, it would be Skye, because she's a fantastic champion and a terrible one at the same time. As a pure flank, she's generally better on controller than she is on PC, but she still has her counters such as Illuminate, Slows, and Reveals. She can decimate newer players who are still wrapping their head around the game, since she just comes out of nowhere and pumps them full of damage. However, at high ranks, most people don't view her as a good flank, and she's at the bottom of the bunch in that regard. Yet, she's still good in certain circumstances thanks to her supportive build with Smoke and Dagger, which turns her from a flank to an off support who helps to earn kills and buff her other teammates. Skye is the prime example of a champion who is not as straightforward as she may seem. Whereas other champions like Xin are easy to pin down at the top of any tier list, Skye can be in just about any tier depending on who you ask, with good justifications for being anywhere from D to A. That's why I wanted to make this video, to demonstrate that a simple tier list often doesn't tell the whole story for a lot of champions and Paladins. It's hard to restrict a lot of characters to just one tier, and in my opinion, tier lists are fine for showing the meta at a quick glance, but they do an absolutely terrible job explaining the true strengths and weaknesses of any one character. For example, when I put Skye in D tier in my last tier list a few months ago, my perspective on her was limited to her efficacy in Diamond and Master lobbies when compared to other flanks. While this rating is accurate for her as a pure flank, it failed to consider her off-support build, which would certainly rank higher than just D tier. So where would we put her then? As her intended role of a flank, she is D tier for high-rank PC lobbies. For her support build, perhaps A or B? So then would we just put her in C? But that wouldn't do justice to either of her two builds. This is why tier lists for me have been frustrating to make in the past, because Skye is not the only example of a champion who could belong to multiple tiers. Rom and Yagroth are both fantastic off-tanks, particularly on flatter maps against characters like Strix and Victor. But when they're up against hard counters like Big Game Cassie, or they're the only tank on the team, it becomes a little bit hard to justify putting them in high up tiers. For a lot of characters such as this, I'll want to put them in multiple tiers, or make a new tier like I did in the last tier list for champions that are fantastic, except when they're not. Plenty of characters are nuanced, and need more care taken and explanations given when you put them in any particular tier. Now, I'm not saying we need to do away with tier lists because they're useless. They still do a good job of painting a general picture of what the meta looks like, and for a lot of champions like Xin or Cassie, it's very easy to justify them as being high tier in any circumstance. However, when making a tier list, adding asterisks or footnotes for some of these more complicated champions could be very helpful to bring further clarification to a tier list and make a champion tier list more accurate. Ultimately though, I think there is one thing that we can all agree about when it comes to Skye. That she's absolutely an S tier on the waifu tier list. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on Skye? Do you agree with my assessment in this video, or did I get something wrong? Let me know in the comments section down below. And while you're down there, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more content like this from me. And also make sure to check out the Twitch channel and the Discord server, both of which are linked in the description. I stream Paladins regularly on Twitch, and we have a fantastic active community of nearly 2,000 members on Discord, so go check both of them out. Also, lastly, I want to give a huge shout out to the members of the channel for helping to support what I do. If you want to help support the channel and unlock some cool new emojis as well as an exclusive role in the Discord server, then just click the join button right down below. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.